Today is January 27th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic and your friend here in the lifeboat of recovery. It is a thrill to be here today as we journey on through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. We are making our way through Working with Others. That's Chapter 7 of the Big Book. Today we'll be reading pages 97 through 101, and we are wrapping up. We're getting close to wrapping up Step 4, which is pages 52 through 53 of the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. All right, guys. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's jump into the Big Book. Page 97. Never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure that you are doing the right thing if you assume them. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the Good Samaritan every day, if need be. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with your pleasures, interruptions to your business. It may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to the police courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jangle at any time of the day or night. Your wife may sometimes say that she's neglected. A drunk may smash the furniture in your home or burn a mattress. You may have to fight with him if he is violent. Sometimes you will have to call a doctor and administer sedatives under his direction. Another time you may have to send for the police or an ambulance. Occasionally you will have to meet such conditions. We seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for long at a time. It's not good for him, and sometimes creates serious complications in the family. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly to them. The family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there is much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. For the type of alcoholic who's able and willing to get well, little charity, in the ordinary sense of the word, is needed or wanted. The men who cry for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Yet, we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things, when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. It is not the matter of giving that is the question, but when and how to give. That often makes the difference between failure and success. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this or that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. Nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence upon God. Burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he must trust in God and clean house. Now, the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. When your prospect has made such reparation as he can to his family, and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living, he should proceed to put those principles into action at home. That is, if he is lucky enough to have a home. Though his family be at fault in many respects, he should not be concerned about that. He should concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Argument and fault-finding are to be avoided like the plague. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do, but it must be done if any results are to be expected. If persisted in for a few months, the effect on a man's family is sure to be great. The most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet. Little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. These can be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness. After they have seen tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally, and in a good time, provided, however, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful, regardless of what anyone says or does. Of course, we all fall much below this standard many times. But we must try to repair the damage immediately, lest we pay the penalty by a spree. If there be divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure of his recovery. The wife should fully understand his new way of life. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. This means a new attitude and a new spirit all around. Sometimes it is the best interest of all concerned that a couple remain apart. Obviously, no rule can be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. When the time for living together has come, it will be apparent to both parties. Let no alcoholic say that he cannot recover unless he has his family back. This just isn't so. In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We've seen others slip when the family came back too soon. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have ever planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do. But urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth and ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. Assuming that we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things that alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said that we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures showing drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't drink or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be some place like the Greenland ice cap. And even there, an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory that he would escape the alcohol problem. Alright guys, there's a great place to stop. We'll come back to that in just a second. Alright everyone, so we are on the bottom of page 52 of the 12 and 12. We are getting close to the tail end of wrapping up step 4, which the last couple of pages have been pretty interesting in breaking down each instinct and questions we may ask of whether or not that particular instincts run riot. This is very helpful questions when we're taking our inventory. So, bottom of page 52, let's get to it. Suppose that financial insecurity constantly arouses these same feelings. I can ask myself to what extent my own mistakes fed my gnawing anxieties. And if the actions of others are part of the cause, what can I do about that? If I am unable to change the present state of affairs, am I willing to take the measures necessary to shape my life to conditions as they are? Questions like these, more of which will come to mind easily in each individual case, will help turn up the root causes. But it is from our twisted relations with family, friends, and society at large that many of us have suffered the most. We've been especially stupid and stubborn about them. The primary fact that we fail to recognize is our total inability to form a true partnership with another human being. Our egomania digs two disastrous pitfalls. Either we insist upon dominating the people we know, or depend upon them far too much. If we lean too heavily on people, they will sooner or later fail us, for they are human too, and cannot possibly meet our incessant demands. In this way, our insecurity grows and festers. When we habitually try to manipulate others to our own willful desires, they revolt and resist us heavily. Then we develop hurt feelings, a sense of persecution, and a desire to retaliate. As we redouble our efforts at control and continue to fail, our suffer becomes acute and constant. We have not once sought to be one in a family, to be a friend among friends, to be a worker among workers, to be a useful member of society. Always we tried to struggle to the top of the heap or to hide underneath it. This self-centered behavior blocked a partnership relation with any one of those about us. Of true brotherhood, we had small comprehension. All right, guys, that concludes our reading out of the 12 and 12 today. Man, that is really interesting stuff, and I always go back to the serenity prayer. There's been so many times I was so desperate for attention, or I was so insecure, and I would rely upon the validation of others to feel good about myself. As I've shared a few times, self-hatred was one of my biggies. It still can be. I can still pick that back up if I'm not careful. So when I would get validation from others, buddy, it felt great. You get that pat on the back for doing a good job at work or whatever it might be. Feels great, but it's fleeting and it's temporary. And I didn't know I would do this, but I would do whatever I could to make sure I got that validation again. Because it felt so good. However, sometimes that pat on the back did not come. Then what? Then I started getting insecure. Did they not like me anymore? Am I doing something wrong? Why don't they like me? Why do they like so-and-so better? It was madness. So you catch yourself, or at least I've caught myself, trying to manipulate the situation to get that pat on the back or that validation. And when you don't get it, either you get, like I said, insecure or resentful. It's a mess and it's exhausting. And it kind of ties back into what the Big Book was talking about. The only thing we need to worry about, we don't depend on other people in our recovery. We depend upon God. Yeah, right here. It's on page 98. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people. Ahead of dependence upon who? Upon God. Buddy, that's a great reminder right there that, my self-worth and all these things, my happiness, it's not dependent upon other people. It's dependent upon my relationship with the God of my understanding. And I guess I needed to be reminded of that today. Go figure. And finally, the last thing that stood out to me today in our reading, and there's so many great things, is that this is a lifetime thing. Years of pattern behavior while drinking, and then you finally get sober, you're working the steps. Are you going to be perfect from then on? Absolutely not. I mean, it's going to take some time, and a lot of work and a lot of practice over and over of kind of correcting some old behaviors to go down a new path. And, real quick, my sister and I, we lived on this dead-end street growing up, and there was beautiful woods in the backyard. And yet my sister and I, we would go outside all the time and we would make new paths through the woods. So the first time you go through a new path, you're getting cut up, you're tripping over roots and all kinds of stuff. But the more you go down that new path, the easier it becomes and the more beautiful it becomes. It's not so unnatural. And it just takes time. And for me, just keep going down that new path it's so worth it. But anyways, I've rambled on enough, guys. I hope you all have a great day today. It is an honor and joy to be here in this lifeboat of recovery. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back here tomorrow.